Well, as you can see, we're back in the collector's attic.
We are.
And we're not playing with toys this time, unless you want to call these toys,
I
because
call them collectibles.
fundamentally they're collectible, and I think they make pretty darn good toys.
Yeah, they are.
And they are Dietz lanterns.
Oh, neat.
And I've been loving Dietz lanterns forever.
Who doesn't? I
Who
had
doesn't?
a Dietz lantern
Well,
when I was a kid.
You know, the funny thing is, I think everybody has one.
Somewhere.
If you were to go out in your garage and dig around, or up in the attic, or if not, then go to your uncles or your grandparents or something, there's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 Dietz lanterns knocking about, maybe out in a field somewhere rusting, but they're one of the most common things in our society.
Exactly.
Everybody recognizes them. They may not necessarily know what they are. They may not know the name Dietz.
Dietz lantern.
But it's a Dietz lantern. Dietz came up with the idea of building a self-contained lamp that you could carry around with you.
Which is handy.
And it wouldn't blow out in the wind.
Which could be bad.
Which could be bad. So some people took to calling such devices hurricane lanterns because they wouldn't blow out. But the idea was to self-contain, because even a lamp with a chimney on it could still be blown out. These are designed.
It's a tragedy if you're in the outhouse.
And these were used in barns and outhouses and everywhere because you could carry them around and hang them up on a nail or do whatever you wanted to.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you're immediately going to recognize the Dietz lantern. Now, this one might look a little bit different than what you're used to. This is a Dietz hot blast lantern. And the idea behind the Dietz lantern in the first place was to completely enclose the flame so it wouldn't blow out. But of course, if you do that, then the thing suffocates and goes out of its own accord. So the idea here was to get fresh air back in there. So there's a huge opening through here, not big enough for the wind to blow it out. And as the heat rises from the flame, it goes up into these tubes and it comes right back in down here at the bottom, and that creates a circulation, a convection. And that makes this glow brighter and smoother, and it makes it very difficult for it to be blown out. So these tubes aren't just decorative, they're carrying hot air around through here. Now, needless to say, if you think about it, the idea of taking your used combustion air and feeding it back around maybe isn't the smartest idea. It's there's carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Anyway, the flame will die if you get too much of that. So that's why there has to be this huge opening here and some air vents down here to bring in more fresh air so it doesn't just suffocate the flame and put it out.
Yes.
That was the downside of the Dietz Hot Blast lantern. This is another Dietz Hot Blast here, more used for something like a highway construction. It has a red glass to warn passing horses or motorists or whatever that there's a hole. But the lamplighter, the lamp tender, could light this thing before going home for the night and leave it out all night, and chances are it'd still be burning come the morning. It wouldn't have blown out. It wouldn't have used up all the oil.
Nice.
Very reliable. So they just turned up everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody was buying themselves a Dietz Hot Blast lantern, other than the fact that it was this small engineering problem with them, you know, that they brought the combustion air back in, which led to the next big innovation. Now, this is a toy one. It has Thomas. Note Thomas, the tank engine here, and Thomas's backside.
The granddaughter's contribution.
Yeah,
Grandpa had to have
the
a
granddaughter
lantern.
gave us this for Christmas, and so it's a prize thing. But the Dietz Hot Blast has been reproduced and is still available, of course. You can run over to Walmart and buy one of these for $4 or something. It's still made by Dietz. This one isn't. This is just a reproduction toy. But the innovation here with the Cold Blast variant was that huge space is missing now. It's all filled in, and there's some little holes here to let heat out. But the hot gases rise right through here and out through this chimney. And as they do, they pull air in through here, which is forced down through here. The same Venturi effect that you get in like a carburetor when cars used to have carburetors. But as the hot gas moves past, that draws cold air in, forces the cold air through the tubes, and blows the cold air up on there. So it's a much better lantern, and that's why you'll see 1 million of these for every one of these. But I think the hot blast lanterns are kind of neater.
Oh, cool.
When we were at Disneyland, everywhere you look, they've got Dietz lanterns all over the place. Walt Disney loved himself a Dietz lantern, and there's probably 2,000 of them in various locations around Disneyland, and a lot of them are the older hot blast style. The cold blast came in a lot of different variants. One was called a skater's lantern. And that, I guess you could go ice skating with it at night or something.
Oh, that kind of skater's lantern.
But it was really just a flashlight. It's a personal lantern. They're very decorative, and they're all polished brass or nickel.
Nice.
And they're kind of tall, and they're meant to carry around with you when you go out walkies in the evening.
Oh, that's nice.
And you want to have your little personal lantern. This is rather industrial. Those were very decorative. The skater's lamp. One of my favorites is the variant of this called the Dietz Pioneer. And that was the road light, the street lamp version of this, because they made a version of this to stick on a street pole and use to light up the city.
Nice.
And my brother wanted to put them on his house in Spring City, so I bought him 3 of them for Christmas. As you can see from the picture here, they're just exactly like any other cold blast, except they're huge.
Right.
They're just gigantic.
Ginormous.
And then the lamplighter would go around and light all of these things in the evening, and come the morning they'd go around and put them all out. So what we have here is a little baby Dietz, and it's actually a pencil sharpener. But they're just so neat. They're so iconic.
Yeah.
That they've been offered in every conceivable, and our friend Jeff down at the train shop has been making his own Dietz. He just takes a reproduction Dietz, but then he takes the little campfire scenes that you can buy for your railroad, and he shoves that in the font so that it flickers, and then he punches out the bottom and he puts a little LED array in the bottom, so that it'll light up the walkway back in the train layout area of the hobby shop and so on. And he's just been knocking those out at the workbench, and they're all over the hobby shop. They're really quite neat. Yeah, I asked him to make us one, or 2 or 3, because they're really neat. Now, one of the fun things that I've come up with here is on this one, it's actually flickering, and you can see in the video here that there's a flickering flame going on, and that's achieved with this guy. And we've got an Amazon store. If you go to Amazon.com and you just search for Toyman Television, there's just a bunch of products. It's just stuff they sell on Amazon that we've selected to stick in there so that we can direct you to it. And these are in there.
Yeah.
So these are all just different variants, and they just come on when you twist the little bottom. We've used these in a lot of the lanterns. But these have the 6-hour timer.
You don't have to worry
So
about your
this one
battery
just
going
stays on forever, but what these two do is as soon as you turn them on, it sets a 24-hour timer, and this thing will now run for 6 hours, and then it shuts itself off. And tomorrow at the exact same time that you turned it on, it turns itself back on.
Isn't that fun?
So if you want them to come on at 7 p.m., just wait till 7, turn it on, it'll start to flicker. Now, what I've been doing with my Dietz cold blast, hot blast lanterns here, is shoving them in upside down, because they just neatly go into the font, and you kind of have to, and one of the reasons I picked that particular one is it's coated with silicone rubber. And that'll keep the tip from getting broken off. Because if you use one of the glass ones like this one and you shove it in upside down like this,
It's going to get broken.
but you can just shove the tip right down in there.
And now you have a flickering
And
light.
now, because it's dark, you can't really see it in there. You can see the flickering flame. And you now have this beautiful flickering thing that will come on every night at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whenever, and run for 8 hours. And the batteries last for a couple of weeks. And then you stick a new AA in there. Well, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop over to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. because that makes you cool, and it gets you notified if you click on your little notification bell by the subscribe button, and then it'll text you or email you
Or make some kind of a strange noise.
or
like
just
my phone does.
yeah, and it can make some really bad noise. Anyway, but it'll notify you that we've uploaded a movie, which is generally Sundays and Tuesdays and sometimes Wednesdays and sometimes Fridays and sometimes just for the heck of it in the middle of the day or something. So you want to be notified, so you want to subscribe. And then you can find out about cool stuff like this. And you can go to eBay and find all of the Dietz lanterns you could ever want, and then go to the Amazon Toy Man page and find these little candles, and there's a couple of variants of them.
right.
And they're really cheap. They're just a few dollars. Stick a AA battery in there, shove it in your Dietz Hot Blast lantern, and you got a really nifty looking thing. So, well, if you haven't been over to the channel, do pop on over to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber, click on the subscribe button.
Please.
Because that will make you a subscriber, and that's cool. Zoink! Right down in here is the blue button, and says subscribe, takes you to the channel, makes you a subscriber, and sets up your little notification thing so you can click on that too. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Sunday with the Sunday Drive Show. See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.